No, no, no. Do you see it? Do you see what's happening right now, in real time, in high definition, in devastating clarity? The screen just flipped, the roles just reversed, the karma just loaded, and it's playing in 4K resolution with surround sound and instant replay enabled. I'm watching it, you're watching it. And somewhere, right now, they're living it. Welcome to the most perfectly orchestrated comeuppance the cosmos has ever delivered, and you didn't have to lift a single finger. You didn't curse them, you didn't plot, you didn't scheme or manipulate or set traps. You simply existed. You healed. You moved forward. And the universe? The universe took notes. Very detailed notes. Let's establish the timeline, shall we? Because precision matters when we're documenting universal justice. They hurt you, betrayed you, mocked you, dismissed you, discarded you like you were nothing, like your heart was a rental property they could trash and abandon without consequence. They walked away clean, didn't they? No apologies, no accountability, no midnight guilt keeping them awake. They slept like babies wrapped in their own lies, convinced they'd gotten away with murder. Spiritual murder, emotional murder, the kind that doesn't leave physical evidence but leaves souls bleeding in the dark. And you? You were left picking up pieces they shattered, fragments they scattered, a puzzle they destroyed just to watch you suffer. But here's what they didn't calculate, what they couldn't predict, what their small minds and smaller hearts couldn't comprehend. They didn't account for the recording device built into the fabric of existence itself. Every action, every intention, every cruelty, delivered with a smile, recorded, time-stamped, cataloged, filed away in the cosmic archive with perfect accuracy. And now the footage is being played back, not as metaphor, not as philosophy, as reality, as consequence. As the most brutal form of education the universe provides, the kind where you don't just learn the lesson, you become the lesson, you live inside the lesson until it rewrites your DNA. See, what's happening to them right now isn't revenge. It's reflection. It's not punishment. It's precision. The universe doesn't operate on anger or spite or petty human emotions that cloud judgment and corrupt justice. No. The universe operates on balance, on equilibrium, on the fundamental law that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. And all that pain they caused you, all that suffering they inflicted, all that darkness they planted in your life, thinking it would grow into your permanent destruction, that energy had to go somewhere. And baby, oh baby, it went right back to the source, returned to sender, delivered with interest. In 4K. I need you to understand the brilliance of what you're witnessing, because this isn't random chaos. This isn't coincidence. This is choreographed cosmic justice, and every detail matters, every parallel counts, every mirror image is intentional. They isolated you? Watch them now, sitting in rooms full of people, surrounded by voices, drowning in noise, and feeling more alone than you ever did in your darkest silence. They abandoned you? Watch them now, clinging desperately to relationships that are already halfway out the door, begging for loyalty from people who are just waiting for a better offer. They mocked your pain? Watch them now, crying behind closed doors, suffering in silence because they built a reputation that doesn't allow weakness, trapped in the prison of their own facade. Let's talk about the first replay, the opening scene in this cosmic documentary, because it hits different when you see it frame by frame. Remember when they made you feel small? When they diminished your worth, questioned your value, made you doubt everything you brought to the table? When they treated you like you were replaceable, disposable, forgettable? Yeah. Now watch them scramble for validation from anyone who'll give them 5 minutes of attention. Watch them post and delete, seek and retreat. Fish for compliments from strangers, because the people who actually know them don't care, can't stand them, see right through them. They're performing for an empty theater, and they can't figure out why the applause stopped. The irony is surgical, isn't it? They spent so much time trying to make you feel worthless, and in the process, they became worthless. Not because you cursed them, not because you wished it, but because that's what happens when you build your identity on tearing others down. You become the demolition. You become the rubble. You become the wasteland you tried to create in someone else's life. And now they're standing in that wasteland, looking around confused, asking why nothing grows here anymore, why everything they touch turns to dust, why every relationship rots before it ripens. And the answer is simple, brutally simple. They're reaping what they sowed. They're harvesting the crop they planted. The universe just made sure they couldn't escape the field. Now let's rewind to the part where they betrayed your trust, because this scene plays back with extra brutality, with added layers of poetic justice that make you want to slow-mo the footage and watch it again. They lied to you, deceived you, smiled in your face while sharpening knives behind your back. They took your vulnerability and weaponized it, took your secrets and monetized them, took your love and commercialized it for social currency and personal gain, and you believed them. You trusted them. You opened your chest and showed them your heart, and they studied it like a blueprint for where to strike when they wanted to hurt you most. But here's the replay. Here's the 4K instant karma. Now they can't trust anyone. Now they're paranoid, suspicious, second-guessing every smile, questioning every compliment, wondering who's real and who's performing. They train themselves to be snakes, and now they're terrified of the grass they slither through because they know. They know what snakes do. They know the game because they invented the rules. And now they're trapped in a reality where everyone looks like them, talks like them, operates like them. They're surrounded by mirrors, and mirrors don't lie. They just reflect the monster back to itself until it can't tell the difference between self-awareness and self-destruction. The universe didn't just give them trust issues. The universe gave them exactly the paranoia they tried to install in you. Remember when they made you question your own reality? When they gaslit you so hard you started doubting your own memories, your own perceptions, your own sanity? When they rewrote history and made you the villain in stories where you were the victim? Yeah. Now watch them lose their grip on their own narrative. Watch them contradict themselves. Watch them forget which lies they told to which people. Watch their carefully constructed false reality start to crack, fracture, shatter, because lies require perfect memory, and they've told too many to keep track. Let me show you another angle, another camera capturing their downfall in stunning high definition. Because the universe isn't just replaying their actions back to them, it's amplifying them. It's turning up the volume. It's adding surround sound to their suffering. They ghosted you, didn't they? Disappeared without explanation, without closure, without basic human decency. They left you in limbo, in confusion, in the torture of unanswered questions. They made you feel like you weren't even worth a goodbye, like your existence was so insignificant it didn't warrant a proper ending. Just silence. Just absence. Just erasure. And now? Now they're the ones being ghosted. Now they're the ones texting into the void. Now they're the ones watching read receipts and getting nothing back, calling and hitting voicemail, reaching out and touching nothing but cold, empty air. The people they thought would always be there, gone. The relationships they took for granted, dissolved. The connections they assumed were permanent, severed. And the beautiful, brutal part? They don't even understand why. They can't figure out what they did wrong, because to understand that, they'd have to acknowledge what they did to you, and that would require accountability. And accountability would require a level of self-awareness they surgically removed from their personality years ago. The universe is showing them exactly how it feels to be abandoned by people who claim to care. Exactly how it feels to be left without explanation. Exactly how it feels to be treated like you were nothing. And they're not handling it well. They're spiraling. They're desperate. They're doing exactly what they mocked you for doing. Reaching out, asking questions, begging for closure. and getting the same thing they gave you, silence. Because energy returns to its origin. Because what you put out comes back. Because the universe doesn't grade on a curve, doesn't offer extra credit, doesn't accept excuses. It just plays the tape back, in 4K, with perfect clarity. Let's zoom in on the part where they replaced you, shall we? Because this is where the replay gets really interesting, where the karma becomes almost artistic in its execution. They moved on quick, didn't they? Had someone knew before your side of the bed was even cold, flaunted it, paraded it, made sure you saw it, made sure it hurt, made sure you knew you were disposable, replaceable, forgettable. They upgraded, or so they claimed. They found better, or so they posted. They won, or so they convinced themselves, and anyone desperate enough to believe their performance. But watch the replay. Watch what happened to that replacement. Watch what happened to the next person, and the next, and the next. Watch the pattern emerge, in high definition, in undeniable clarity, in statistical significance that even they can't deny. Every relationship shorter than the last, every connection shallower than before, every attempt at intimacy ending in disaster because you can't build on a foundation of betrayal, because whatever they build on your grave will be haunted, because they're not starting fresh, they're starting cursed. Cursed by their own actions, cursed by their own choices, cursed by the energy they put out into the world. And the replacements? The people who came after you? They're not upgrades. They're placeholders. They're understudies who'll never learn the lead role. They're knockoffs of something original that can never be replicated. And deep down, in the parts of themselves they try to drown with noise and distractions and new faces. They know no one hits like you did. No one understood them like you did. No one tolerated their darkness like you did. No one loved them at their worst like you did. And now that love is gone. And they're stuck with people who only love the mask, the performance, the highlight reel. And when that mask slips, when that performance ends, those people will leave faster than they arrived. The universe didn't just replace what they had. The universe made sure they could never find it again. Made sure that what they lost with you became the standard they'll never reach again. Made sure that every person after you becomes evidence of what they destroyed. Made sure their future is haunted by your absence. That's not revenge. That's consequence. That's the cosmic ledger balancing itself, without your intervention, without your input, without you having to do a single thing except exist and move forward and become undeniable in your growth. Now let's talk about the part where they tried to destroy your reputation, because this is where the 4K footage becomes absolutely devastating, where the replay turns from brutal to biblical. They talked. Oh, they talked. Spread rumors, twisted truths, painted you as the villain in their victim narrative. They went on a character assassination campaign, trying to poison every well you might drink from, trying to salt the earth so nothing could grow around you, trying to isolate you so completely that you'd have no choice but to come crawling back to them, broken and desperate. And maybe for a moment, for a season, for a painful chapter, it worked. People believed them. People turned their backs. People who should have known better chose their lies over your truth. And you stood there, bleeding from wounds you couldn't see, wondering how they could be so convincing, how they could lie so easily, how they could destroy you with such precision and sleep so soundly afterward. But here's what you couldn't see then, what you can see now, what the universe was setting up while you were just trying to survive. Watch the replay. Watch what happened when people actually spent time with them without you there as the buffer, the translator, the emotional support. Watch what happened when your presence wasn't there to soften their edges, manage their moods, explain away their toxicity. Watch how quickly those new alliances crumbled. Watch how fast those believers became victims. Watch the exact pattern repeat itself. Because people who destroy you don't stop being destructive when you're gone. They just find new targets. And those targets, they eventually realize the truth. And when they do, when they connect the dots, when they see the pattern, your name gets cleared without you having to say a word. Your truth gets validated without you having to defend it. Your reputation gets restored not because you fought for it, but because they couldn't help but prove you right by being exactly who you said they were to every single person who came after you. The universe didn't just expose them. The universe turned them into a self-fulfilling prophecy of destruction. Now everyone who doubted you, everyone who chose them, everyone who believed their lies, gets to experience firsthand what you tried to warn them about. And there's no satisfaction quite like being proven right by someone else's refusal to change. Let's slow down the footage here, because this next part deserves frame-by-frame analysis, deserves slow-motion replay, deserves your full attention. Remember when they made you feel crazy? When they invalidated your emotions, dismissed your concerns, made you question your own perception of reality? When they told you that you were too sensitive, too emotional, too dramatic, too much? When they made you shrink yourself, silence yourself, edit yourself down to a version that was easier for them to control and harder for you to recognize? The replay is exquisite. Now they're the ones being called crazy. Now they're the ones being told they're overreacting. Now they're the ones being invalidated, dismissed, gaslit by the very tactics they perfected on you, and it's destroying them. Why? Because you survived it by knowing, deep down, that you weren't crazy. You had that core of truth they couldn't corrupt, that inner voice they couldn't silence, that part of you that knew your reality was valid even when they tried to rewrite it. But them? They don't have that foundation. They built their entire identity on lies, on manipulation, on the false reality they constructed. So when someone turns those weapons on them, they shatter, they break, they lose themselves completely. The universe is teaching them what it feels like to doubt your own mind, what it feels like to be manipulated by someone who smiles while they destroy you, what it feels like to be trapped in a reality you didn't create and can't escape, and the beautiful, brutal irony. They're experiencing this at the hands of people who learned from them, who studied their playbook, who became experts in their exact brand of psychological warfare. They created monsters in their own image, and now those monsters have turned on their creator. That's not karma, that's poetry. Watch them now, in full 4K glory, trying to convince others they're the victim. Watch them use your old lines, your old pain, your old wounds as their new script. Watch them steal your story and wear it like a costume, hoping it'll generate the same sympathy you earned through actual suffering. But here's the thing about stolen stories. They never fit right. They never sound authentic. They never land the same way because the audience can sense the performance, can smell the fraud, can feel the difference between someone sharing their truth and someone commercializing someone else's trauma. And slowly, painfully, publicly, they're being revealed. Not by you, not by your words, but by their own inability to keep up the act, by their own contradictions, by their own slip-ups, by the cracks in their facade that get wider every time they try to perform vulnerability they don't actually feel. The universe isn't just exposing them. The universe is forcing them to expose themselves, over and over, until there's no audience left who believes the show, no crowd left who applauds the performance, no one left who can't see exactly what they are. Let me show you another camera angle, because the universe installed cameras everywhere, captured everything, missed nothing. Remember when they celebrated your failures? When they found joy in your struggles? When they watched you fall and grabbed popcorn instead of offering a hand? When they turned your worst moments into entertainment, your trauma into gossip, your pain into their social currency? Yeah. The replay on this one is particularly savage. Now watch them fail, and fail again, and fail harder. Watch their carefully constructed empire crumble. Watch their plans collapse. Watch their dreams dissolve. And watch. Watch who's laughing. Watch who's celebrating. Watch who's grabbing popcorn while they burn. The same people they gathered to laugh at you, now gathered to laugh at them. The same audience they curated for your downfall, now watching their destruction with the same cold amusement they taught them to have. They created a culture of mockery, and now they're the main character in their own tragedy. They built the arena, they sold the tickets. They just forgot they'd eventually be the one in the center, fighting for their life while everyone watches and no one helps. And here's the part that makes you want to re-watch the footage, that makes you want to slow it down and savor every frame. You could help them. You could reach out. You could be the bigger person, extend grace, offer the hand they never offered you. But you won't. Not because you're cruel, not because you're heartless, but because the universe specifically designed this lesson for them, and interrupting it would be interfering with cosmic education. They need to feel this. They need to learn this. They need to understand, on a cellular level, what they put you through. And if you step in, if you save them, if you cushion their fall, they'll never learn. They'll just add you to the list of people they used and discarded. They'll just see your kindness as weakness and your grace as permission to do it again. So you watch, you witness, you see the karma play out in real time, in high definition, in devastating clarity, and you feel nothing, not joy, not pain, not satisfaction, not sympathy, just peace. The peace that comes from knowing the universe handles its business without your assistance. The peace that comes from stepping out of the way and letting consequences do their work. The peace that comes from understanding that your job was never to punish them. Your job was to heal yourself. And you did that. You're doing that. And the universe? The universe took care of the rest. Let's talk about the relationships they destroyed, shall we? Because the replay on this is almost too perfect, too precise, too poetic to be anything other than deliberate cosmic intervention. They didn't just hurt you, they turned people against you, poisoned your friendships, corrupted your connections, spread lies so effectively that people who loved you started questioning you, doubting you, distancing themselves from you. They isolated you systematically, strategically, sadistically, and it worked. For a while, it worked.